Hi everyone, this is Distance Learning Models. Thank you for showing up today and thank you for taking the time to grow yourself. This is the second session in our first Distance Learning PD module, Preparing Your Remote Classroom. If you are curious about how all of the content fits together and builds on each other, feel free to pause here and read the Distance Learning course introduction document. Otherwise, let's jump in. This slide represents our priorities across all of the Department of Education, and in particular, these professional development trainings are in alignment with our educators' priority. We hope you feel supported by using this resource. Here are the objectives for this session. We will synthesize the difference between synchronous and asynchronous instruction. We will also synthesize the difference between content delivery and instruction. And then we will use the distance learning model's reflection activity to create self-guidance to prepare for your remote classrooms. Please note that for this session, you will need any documents that your school or district has provided around their distance learning teaching model. Any explanations, approach, plans, etc. We will be digging into these documents to fully internalize them. And here is our agenda for the session. We always want to ensure our professional development resources are supporting teacher growth and development, and we use the team rubric as the anchor for that. This particular session is aligned to both the teacher content knowledge indicator and teacher knowledge of students indicator on the team rubric. Those indicators are broken down into these specific behaviors. Take a moment and read so you know what we're driving towards. Okay, let's jump in. We're going to take 30 seconds and you are going to think or write. Based on your current understanding, how would you describe distance learning? Many of us had experiences with distance learning last spring. It's important that as we jump into a new school year, where we are functioning proactively and not reactively, that we align on a number of key ideas around distance learning that will help us to ensure our students learn as much as possible. So here's the technical information. Distance learning, which is also called remote learning, is primarily defined as when students and teachers are not housed in a classroom or school building and do not share a physical space with each other. Distance learning and remote learning are different from online learning or blended learning, where technology is used as part of the in-person program and students spend some portion of their time learning online in their classrooms. These definitions, along with other key distance learning vocabulary, can be found by downloading Resource 2, Key Distance Learning Vocabulary. Or you can also go directly to the Reopening Schools Overview Guide for LEA that the Department of Education produced just about a month ago. The link is below, so if you pause here and scroll down, you'll see that. All right, let's jump into the next two key ideas that all of our teachers need to know about distance learning. The first is that asynchronous and synchronous instruction have key differences. Asynchronous learning is when students learn the same material at different times and locations. A couple examples of asynchronous learning include teachers providing recorded lessons, assignments, and materials that can be accessed at different times, students engaging in learning activities independently, and it can incorporate discussion boards, pre-recorded videos, online math or reading programs, or independent work. This is different from synchronous learning, where students learn at the same time using the same or similar activities. Some examples of synchronous learning include learning that happens in real time, live video lessons with students present. It could be whole group, small group, or individual. Same thing with live phone calls where students are present. Again, whole group, small group, or individual. In addition to student-teacher direct interaction with feedback. All of these things are examples of synchronous learning. Okay, take 30 seconds and in your own words, write down what is the difference between synchronous and asynchronous learning. The next big idea is that content delivery and instruction also have key differences. When we think of content delivery, we should think of getting information to students, but it's pretty one way. Whereas instruction is two-way, back and forth. It involves interaction with students. So examples of content delivery include pre-recorded lessons, an online learning module, a paper-based assignment that students are working on independently, a work packet, asynchronous recorded lessons. These are different than examples of instruction, again, which include this back and forth interaction. Things like synchronous lessons where students are present, synchronous discussions, question and answers, whether these happen on a video platform or on a phone platform, and giving feedback directly to students. So you can see the key differences here between content delivery and instruction. Go ahead and take a moment to stamp that big idea for yourself. It's a very important one. In your own words, what is the difference between content delivery and instruction? Okay, now that you have these two big ideas down, let's dig a little bit deeper and work to create self-guidance to prepare for your own remote classroom. You should pause the video and gather two things. First, you're going to download resource 1. It's called Understanding My School or District's Plan for Remote Instruction. It looks like this. The second thing you're going to gather are all of the documents from your school or district about their distance learning plan. After you have both of those resources, you're going to pause the video and take as much time as you need to use the guide, the question guide, to really dig in, understand, and action plan for your own remote classroom. This time is all about making sure you understand your school or district's plan and vision, and you have all of the specific information you need to get to work for planning your classroom. Okay, go ahead, pause here, and take as much time as you need. I hope you were really able to dig in and start to understand things like how much synchronous time are you expected to have, how much asynchronous time, what does instruction look like versus content delivery. How will you be taking attendance? What are your grading expectations? If there are places where you still have questions, be sure to record all of those and then set up a meeting with someone at your school or district so that you can start to get those questions answered. Let's go ahead and look back on the objectives that we had for our time in this session. We dug into understanding the differences between synchronous and asynchronous instruction, and then the differences between content delivery and instruction. And these are the two big ideas that you really need to understand as you're going into your remote classroom for the year. And then finally, you took the time to synthesize and understand your district's plan so that you can start your own planning. Thank you so much for digging in, for being present and pushing yourself. And thank you for being a teacher. Your work is crucial. It matters so much. I'm so excited for you to keep developing these distance learning skills. Check out our next session on building relationships in a remote classroom.